And welcome to the spiritual journey. We are here to learn ways to open your mind, your body, and soul, and how spirituality can shape, heal, adapt, and transition you to move ahead in this unknown world. I have a panel of amazing guests with me today, and we are going to be chatting about spirituality and relationships with our partners. And I'd like to welcome everybody. I have Miss Sybille here, who is a dedicated edge worker and movement lover, passionate about the power of group work, a leader in transformational movement medicine using her own courage and vulnerability. She weaves her skills into open floor movement, workshops, and retreats to create transformational medicine, helping people to grow physically and emotionally within a community. Welcome. Hello, how are you?
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Jamiee.
Fantastic. I also have another good friend of mine here, Annemie, who's one of my good friends, an accountability coach who helps people glide through the challenges in modern day life. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Jamiee. How are you?
Yes, fabulous. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And I also have Shailesh, who is also another great friend of mine who I admire, who seeks positivity and believes this is the main ingredient of who we are as humans. His background is finance, charities, media, and community-focused events. Welcome, Shailesh. How are you?
Yes, thank you very much, Jamiee. Once again, it's good to be back with all these lovely people and lovely souls. And I really have a pleasure once again to interact with you, Jamiee.
Fabulous. And my name's Jamiee Taylor, and I'll be here, obviously, working alongside each and every one of you to help you to understand and what we can do to make a difference with you in your life. So what I'd love to do is open up the panel and ask the first question, what does relationships mean to you? And what I'd love to do is start with Sybille. I'll point that question to you first.
What does relationship mean to me altogether in this? Okay. Relationship for me is, so I had a period in my life where I was thinking about and going ahead with, after many years of Vipassana meditation, where I was planning to go to India and live in an ashram for a while. And through that, I really came to the clarity that to know who I am is in reflection in another, and to get my cross on the map, what's alive for me and how I am affecting my environment is really only through deep relationships. So intimate relationships that grow, like living together and all of that, and intimate friendships where all of me can come forward so that I can see where I need to grow and where my edges are.
Fantastic. And I'm going to direct the question to you and me also. What does relationships mean to you?
Well, Jamiee, relationships for me is basically one word. It's connecting to other people and connecting with yourself, because you first have to connect with yourself before you can connect with other people. And in order to do so, with my clients, I work a lot with values, because I do believe that the reason why relationships don't function the way we want is strongly caused by just people not following their values. And as Sybille said, like going to the ashram to find yourself and who you truly are, it's very, very important. So I think self-reflection is key, and see who you are, what is important to you, and then finding a person to share your life with that has similar values, but also brings an aspect of differences. So you can help each other learn and grow. That is a relationship for me.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. And now to yourself, Shailesh, what does relationships mean to you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful topic, and it's a topic that is defines who we are as our existence. Because to me, relationship starts when we appear in this whole planet or the universe that we call. And we are always looking for some or the other association, attachment, and that's where the relationships plays an important role. And when we like something, we'd like to attach, we like to have a relationship with that. We first connect, as Annemie said, connection is the most important thing. So we first try to connect with something and then we try to develop that relationships. And I think to me, what Sybille also mentioned, that yes, soul searching, or we are souls who wants to find ourselves. So we want our own aloneness or our own existence to be first, connected. And that you can find anywhere in an isolation place, that wherever you want to go. However, for me, relationships are very important because we have a connection as a humans to the nature. And nature, when we exist or when we come into this world, we are always looking for that kind of development of ourselves and development of our existence. And that can only happen through relationships. So relationships is an integral part of human being, who we are. And so to me, it's very important, relationships, to have with everyone and anyone, living, non-living. We don't believe, or we don't say that, oh, I have relation only with living beings or non-living beings. It's with everyone that we do. Whatever we connect, whatever we touch, whatever we feel, we want to have a relationships with that. So that's, to me, it's relationships.
Fabulous, some great answers. And I suppose too, this is a great transition into our next question, based around spirituality. So I'm actually going to ask you, Annemie, how does spirituality influence your relationship?
Well, it definitely all comes down to, again, what I said, connection. And just taking my own example here, I'm from Belgium originally. And I moved all the way to Australia to find my husband, who's from Brazil, and moved all the way from Brazil to Australia. So I do believe in soul connections. And I'm not going to say there is only one right relationship. It's the lessons that we have to learn within a lifetime. And that can be with one person or with 5 people or whatever you have chosen to kind of fulfill in this lifetime. So there might not be just one match for you. It depends on the lessons you have to learn and all the things that you have to work out with that particular person. So I strongly believe in when things have to happen, they will happen. That's a fact, because there is too many facts really that I can see in my life, and I'm really using the word fact here, that whatever on a soul level had to happen will happen, regardless of age or place where you were born. If the match has to be made and the lesson has to be learned, and you need to support each other to grow, that is what will happen, undoubtedly.
Fabulous. And the same question to yourself, Sybille, how does spirituality influence your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, that goes into all my relationships with my children and with my partner. And for me, I can't really, we live in a very diverse world and modern culture, and there's so many different values that each of us have. And similar to what I just heard before, if I live for someone and I'm in relationship and their values is completely opposed to mine, then yeah, that doesn't work for me. So I'm in this process of as a mother, how can I let my relationships, how can I have my values, my personal values, and have for example, my 2 teenagers' values develop in their own kind of time, but still really letting them both be in the same space. And for me, that's what relationship is about, of I'm not telling you this is it, particularly with children, but also within my relationship. It's like, this is what lives in me and what I really want, and this is what lives in you. And when that shifts so far that each of us want really different things, then for a romantic relationship, that would be a reason for me that eventually I wouldn't want to live with this person long term. Yeah, so it's that kind of how far can it stretch before it's like, okay, it might be time to, that's what it is for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And Shailesh, same question. How does spirituality influence your relationships? You're on mute.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Sorry about the mute. Technical. We are in the world of spiritual technicality. Okay. So for me, influencing relationship is very, very important. And how do I influence my relationships spiritually? Is every day, every moment, not every day, I would say every moment I seek that influence in me, as a relationship with myself, as a relationship with around me and surround me. And the influence that I say is, to me, is openness. And we have to open our mind and body and soul for everything that the universe is giving us. To me, that influence itself is an influence when we become open and when we become free-spirited. So when we are free-spirited, we are opening lots of doors and lots of possibilities that influence every single second to us. And so spirituality is nothing but, you have to have an open heart, as we say, or open mind. So just when you have an open heart surgery, I always say that, I give an operation example. The doctors are trying to find every single thing in the heart. However, in reality, you got to find that everything yourself. You don't need anyone to find what's in your heart. And so that becomes, to me, a more important influence every single second, that when you have an open heart, open mind, and free spirit approach, that's where my base, everything is on positivity and positive. But that gives me every single second an influence of my own self, as you said, real reflections of our own self. So that gives us a big, broad view of ourselves. And that's where our influence, we always say that, somebody else's motivate us. You influence me to do this, I influence you to do that, But that's where the spiritual aspect is very simple. Just have a free-spirited approach, just have an open mind, and then you will get your, every single second, your influence on your own. And so spirituality does play an important role in our life and in our journey. And so that's why we just have to keep ourselves open for anything and everything to accept from this universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm resonating with from each and every one of your answers is about senses, and using your own senses to then use that to actually influence how you want your relationships to be and how they come across. And I do find a lot of people fail to use their own senses, and they feel as though they then are influenced by others and what's happening in and around them. And it's like what you were saying, Shailesh, about being free-spirited and using yourself and your beliefs to be able to help to influence what that looks like. So some great answers. The next question, which carries on from what we were talking about, is, and Sybille, I'll direct this question straight to you. What does a healthy spiritual relationship look like for you?
I'm so passionate about relationships, so this is like a wonderful question. Oh, what is a healthy? Yeah, like I go into relationship with another, like either, being in a marriage or being in a committed partnership. For me, I'm really strong on creating extraordinary times, creating very special, clear spaces that are held in from each of the other to to really meet in places, and to sit with each other and really listen and share each other's feelings, and to leave the ordinary out. So to create spaces where there is no talk about logistics, no talk about the kids or whatever, and just holding spaces where beautiful questions come in. And this doesn't need to be like, for me, healthy relationship has a lot of intimacy. So there is this line that I got from one of my mentors: a relationship doesn't die because of a lack of love, a relationship dies out of a lack of intimacy. And this is also my own intimacy with myself. If I keep abandoning myself and I'm not enough in relationship with myself, then I also can't meet another and be intimate with another. So the level of intimacy has so much to do with my level of presence and my level of commitment to this. So for me, a healthy relationship is not to be committed to each other's kind of dramas and ordinaries. For me, it's being committed to each other's purpose. So what is this person really here for? And how can I support them the best way? So I call that king and queen making, really making king and queens out of each other and lifting each other, so that we can, each of us can be the best versions, and not buying into all the little kind of dramas, like, hey, just go and anyway, I
Relax.
go on for hours.
Relax.
I'll stop here.
Actually, I love what you said about creating kings and queens and uplifting, and it's such an important area that you want to focus on within a relationship, for obvious reasons, as the titles dictate. So I love it. Shailesh, same question to yourself. What does a healthy spiritual relationship look like for you?
Yeah, as Sybille said, and I'll take the point from there where she left, that we need to uplift each other, and we need to grow each other. And this is where I feel that relationships are very important, and you have to decide or choose relationships the way you feel spiritually, innerly, with your free-spirited understanding that what is relations to you and what is healthy relationship to you. Just like, when you eat healthy food, you say it is healthy because it actually, not because it's good or somebody's saying healthy, but your body tells you it's healthy, and it's not you decide. So to me, that relationship is also like that, healthy relationship. You first get into a relationship, and then you decide, or then you choose, or then you know whether it is healthy, good enough or not. And then as soon as you see negativity or anything, then you just push away and go away from that, right? So interestingly to me, healthy relationships is like completely like acknowledging and understanding your own kind of healthy points that you can ascertain yourself. You don't need someone to tell what's healthy for you and not. People are there who will always, with their experience, give you that. But your body tells you, your soul tells you whether it's a healthy or not for you. And this is where the most important aspect of healthy relationship comes. So spiritually, we are all looking for a good long-term or short-term or momentarily relationships that can really help and support and grow each other. And this is where then you get that healthy feeling that, yes, I have done something today, that somebody was benefited or somebody felt good. It's rather than benefited. Somebody felt good, so you felt good. And to me, that's all it matters. Every single moment, you should be putting that effort to have a healthy moment, rather than, okay, I'll do this for you. And once I've done this for you, you will be happy or you have benefited. But then in that process, you have lost many moments that were not healthy.
Yes.
So are you looking for the outcome that turns you into healthy, or are you looking for the moments, every single moment that can be remembered and that can be memory, live as a memory, basically. Right. So so healthy relationships are very important, but it's all about your own self.
Yes.
How to choose that healthy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Annemie, the same question to yourself. What does a healthy spiritual relationship look like for you?
I just have to definitely add to what Shailesh had to say about healthy. You need to feel it in your body. So, and going back to what you said yourself, Jamiee, when you are in a healthy relationship, all your senses are in balance and you can really feel that, you can experience that. But another really important point, I think, is communication, because of course, when we live together, not everything's going to be moonlight and roses, because there are going to be issues that arise. And if it's not within the two of the partnership, so it will be with raising children or daily life. And then I believe if there is healthy communication, and we can really put our feelings and our emotions on the table and talk about it, without getting our emotions in the way, and there is aggression coming into kind of winning an argument. It's not about winning, it's about having a happy ending. And in order to do that, I talk a lot about conflict and how to deal with conflict in the corporate world, but it's exactly the same in a relationship. So there are 4 ways to deal with conflict in a relationship, and one is the aggressive approach, so that's out. Then there is the avoidance, and I see a lot of avoidance in relationships, and that is the most dangerous one. And I really want to stress that. So if you can see that you are avoiding conflict in a relationship, run away, or as in don't run away, put it on the table and talk about it. And then there is passive aggressive, which is even worse sometimes. And that's like people sabotaging each other. So that is what we don't want. So I just wanted to point out what we don't want, to come to the point what I really want to stress here, and that is we need to confront. And confront seems like a very aggressive word, but it's really not. It is the only solution to a perfectly harmonious relationship, because it is a collaboration of 2 or more people working together towards a solution. And that is so important. And then the last point, what I wanted to make, a healthy relationship, there needs to be trust. Because if there is no trust, you have nothing. No. So that is my elements of a healthy relationship.
Fantastic. And actually, Annemie, I think you literally took the words out of my mouth for the next question. So we're going to go straight into it. And I'm going to direct this towards you, Shailesh, to start off with. You made some really absolute relevant points there around communication. So Shailesh, what can you recommend in terms of when there is a breakdown of communication within a relationship?
Sorry, once again, I was on mute. Yeah. Yes, I completely agree. The whole key thing of human existence is communication. When we are born, we communicate without words, by touch, by feelings, and we do communicate every single moment, and we need to communicate every single moment. Now imagine if you are put in a room and said you're not going to communicate or talk for a minute or 2 minutes. That's too much for anyone, because you have that feeling inside you, your human mind, that thoughts are coming and you have to communicate. To communicate to yourself or communicate to someone, or to put that communication into action and reactions. And this is all we are part and parcel of human existence, is communication. So the breakdown, and being in the media, I can see how I want to relate to every single diverse aspect and complicated system that we are living in, or the world we are living in, or the humans, which are unique. Every single human is unique. And to communicate with every single person is very, very challenging for anyone and for any time. But we still want to communicate, because we want to put our point across. We want to talk, and we want to justify. We want to make them understand what you feel and how you feel, basically. So to me, communication breakdown happens when a child is asked not to communicate, and say, that's your punishment. You're not going to talk and you're going to stay there. So that's where the important aspect, when you are little itself, it starts that you can't stop a human being from non-communicating. Imagine that same child when it grows up and it becomes adult, and what Sybille was talking about, all the relationships or intimacy and everything that she mentioned needs communication, irrespective of whatever form you communicate. So communication breakdown happens when you you just shut down yourself and say, and I'm not going to communicate with this person or that person. But the thoughts are coming that you have to communicate.
Yes.
And you are pushing those, and you're suppressing that communication barrier breakdown. So the breakdown happens when you don't, whether any relationship you are in, whether you are in husband, wife, or partner, or kids, or mom and dad, or mom and child, and any relationship is very, very vital and important for a human existence. And the sooner you start to realize and accept that, hey, nothing is going to happen, even if I say this to him, he may feel bad, but at least I have let it out from my mind, the communication channel. I have released it, and now it's up to him to react or reciprocate.
Yeah.
So, but when you say that, oh no, I don't want to communicate because I don't like that person, or I don't like him, or we are expecting, we are imagining too much before even we communicate. We want the answer, what we are seeking. However, not realizing that we all are unique, and we have to be prepared for the reactions, whatever that comes to us, we should be prepared for it. And that's what who we are, and that's what the existence of us will take us forward, rather than, okay, I'm not going to communicate. So that non-communication itself is a big issue for humans. And the mental health, the mental stress, and the emotional well-being and everything is all about communication. The moment you stop communication, these things come up, and these things creep up inside you and outside you and around you.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
So that's the communication breakdown is nothing but like, don't stop communicating. Even people who can't talk, like we feel, just to add to that last point, I would say, as I believe, as I see, and I believe in nature, when we see around us, we are very much into that communication mode of want to communicate. Even we can't talk, we feel by communication. Our communication can be felt, our communication can be done through touches. We want
through
to
the
touch
senses that we were talking about.
Through the senses that we are talking about. So I think, non-talking doesn't mean that non-communicating. Non-talking means, like, even silence is the biggest communication weapon. People say sometimes, in the eyes of law, in the eyes of media, all sorts of things, if you like. That's why there is a good old saying, silence is golden. But why is silence golden? Because silence does means you are communicating. Silence
Definitely.
means that you are communicating. So that's what I'll leave it up to that.
Fantastic. And same question to yourself, Sybille. What can you recommend when there's a communication breakdown in a relationship?
Yeah, so for me, there's three things that come up really clear, which is relationship is such a wonderful place to practice being unhookable, to become unhookable, and to really choose whatever is coming my way to see it as a learning experience. So what I hear you say in that question is how to have courageous conversations, which is similar what Annemie was talking about before, how important it is to be able to have those courageous conversations and have them before the breakdown of communication happens. So, and the way how I see what is really important for that is what I practice a lot with my clients, which is emotional expression. So if I am holding a whole bunch of anger, and I'm holding a whole bunch of anger towards another person, and I'm not expressing that, then that leads eventually to communication breakdown, because it will unfold. If I don't express it consciously, it expresses itself unconsciously and slowly poisons the relationship. And then it's that kind of communication that is totally not going into connection. It only creates disconnection, and it's our shadow living in the relationship. And the practice of that is really taking fully responsibility of my feelings. So if I have anger, if I have sadness, if I have fears, and I'm I can only meet a bunch of people with the same emotional range that I am willing to express. So if my emotional range is really small because I'm not willing to really feel properly, then I can only also meet those that are in that emotional range. So these are the people, if I see a big group come in, there's like, it tends to that one person can just relate to 5 people in a group of 20. And the other 15, they are like, ooh, no, not quite. And those actually have the gifts for me. Those have the gifts for me of like, well, what is it in their expression that I don't have yet? So it's about learning in a group. So yeah, so much of the conflict comes from not being able to express what is actually happening for me and what is alive for me. So it comes out in a really shit way and destroys the space. Yeah. So this is where I need to do my work myself and either have counseling or sit with a friend or do my work. What is alive for me? And then once I've got that clarity of like, hey, these are the boundaries I need to set. This isn't working for me. This is what I feel really scared about. And this needs to shift, and here's my proposal for it. So it's really just having those courageous conversations, even so if the breakdown of the communication has already happened, but going into it with clarity and going into it even with a mediator, and just making the highest goal is connection, and taking a stand of what it is that isn't working for me, and to figure that out myself, and then bring it in cleanly, and then shift and change from that place.
Fabulous. And I absolutely resonate with you around that. I mentor, I have 5 regional managers that I mentor within the business that I work for. And communication obviously is key. I have 150 staff members under me, and I'm constantly reminding the regional managers, communication has to be clear and concise, but if you're unsure, you actually can stop, and you can actually pull yourself out of the situation and think about it before you then communicate. So allow yourself the time to get yourself in your head and your mindset around exactly what you want to say and the points you want to actually express, because otherwise you're never going to be able to give that conversation wholeheartedly, with passion and with reverence, and then the whole point might actually then not exist.
Or have do-overs, even just being in a really difficult conversation and saying something and going like, stop, hang on, I'll take this back. This was like, let me have a do-over on this. And to give each other that permission of like, okay, there's someone taking responsibility. So for me, if I'm in a really difficult conversation, it's about me taking responsibility. What is my part, how we got there? What have I done that this has gotten to this point? What can you own? What has gotten, and where do we go from here? Like, what's the next step?
Yep, totally agree. Great question and great answers. Annemie, coming back to yourself, in terms of recommendations around communication breakdown.
Well, I actually tell a story, and it's from the ancient Greek times with the philosopher Socrates. And I believe to avoid communication breakdown, we should first really think about before we speak. And so the story, I'll tell it very quickly. He's sitting outside his house in the sun, having a siesta, and one of his students comes running down the street, and he says, Socrates, I have something to tell you. I saw a friend of yours at the market, and he told me all these things about you. And Socrates asks him 3 questions, and he says, first, before you speak, can I ask you what you're going to tell me? Is it true? And the student is a bit hesitant because he goes, oh, I didn't really check if it's true. I didn't, investigate the claim. And then he says, well, in that case, I have to ask you a second question. And that is it positive? And the student is now very scared because it's not positive at all. And then he says, no. And then Socrates says, well, you're coming to tell me information here. You don't know if it's true. It's not positive. Well, then I have to ask you this third question. And that is it useful? And then the student's like, no. And Socrates says, well, in that case, I don't really want to hear it. And I want you to go and forget about it, right? So, and it's true. We need to really think before we speak. Is the information I'm going to give, is it true? Secondly, is it going to contribute in a positive manner to this person's life or the situation? And lastly, is it useful? And if it's not, then don't speak. But this is the same when we are listening, because we receive so much information from the media and social media and our friends, etc. We need to think, is this information true? Is it positive and is it useful? If it's not, just discard. Because I do believe communication breakdown also happens because we are overwhelmed with avalanches of information that our mind can't cope with. So by applying these 3 filters, we kind of clear out a lot of unnecessary information, and it really helps to kind of, compute the information and then kind of handle it in the right emotional way.
Absolutely. I'm definitely going to take that story away and use that with my regional managers. So thank you so much for that, Annemie. That was a great one. It was awesome. And look, relationships is such a big discussion point, and it can cover off so many different areas. So what I want to do is ask our last question to each and every one of you. What is the lasting message, spiritual message that you want to pass on to everybody? And I'll start with you, Shailesh.
Oh, yes. My last message, but before I answer that question, so what's my message on relationships, right? Spiritual relationships, you said? What's
Correct.
my last message of spiritual relationships? So this is where I tell a story like Annemie. And I want that to be understood in the context of what's our relationship first and foremost with the nature that we are living in, the system. And so I always compare the tree with humans. And there are 3 parts to the tree. One is the deep roots and the roots which are not seen. One is the trunk which holds the roots. And the other one is the crown on the trunk, which the crown consists of flowers, leaves, branches, and fruits. And generally, humans tend to go to the crown because they want the relationships like the crown, like the leaves, like where you can feel it, the texture of it. But they don't realize the leaves fall off. They don't remain there forever. Then they want to develop a relationship like a fruit where they want to eat it. And then when they taste good, then they want to shift to another fruit. So that also doesn't really matter or last that relationships. The third one is like the branches, where the branches, they want to hang on and they want to be with them for a little while, but they don't realize the branches are looking for different extension and they want to move on, basically. So you can't have a relationship like that. And then the other one is like the flower where you want to smell because it's beautiful, but not realizing again that the flowers don't last and they also fall off quickly like the leaves. So the best relationship and my message to everyone in this year who are here with me and who are going to be listening is only one simple message: is develop relationships like the roots which are not seen. You don't need to be seen. You need to develop a relationship like roots, which can allow individual roots to go deeper and deeper and extend their own journey, but they hold on and hang on to them and support them throughout the whole journey of individual. So my message is going to be like develop relationships like roots, which may not be seen which are unseen, but which are so stronger that they give you in the reflection of them is the trunk, the crown. That's the reflection of those roots. And that's where then you say, oh, that tree is great, but not realizing that the tree is great or the fruits are great because the roots are great.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's not about the crown or the trunk,
No,
which is seen, it's the roots.
Ah, very good.
So that will be my
Fabulous.
message too.
Great. Thank you. And the same to yourself, Sybille. What is your spiritual message that you want to pass on to everybody about relationships?
I'm going to be bold here. So it's, if you're in a relationship, if I'm in a relationship and I need this person, like needing it for my own survival, then I will have to check if I'm playing out some kind of replacement of mom relationship, dad relationship with my partner. If I can choose this person, then every day I choose it. I want to be with this person. And it's like a conscious choice being made every day. So like, I also come from a place of, in the past, I used to believe that there is some kind of soul kind of connection, but I've made a different choice over the years after my last marriage. And it's up to me what story I put on this person that I'm choosing to be with. And then I choose this person every day, knowing that I could choose to not, and to go and do my own thing. So yeah, so check for those listeners that are listening, check when you feel into your partner. Do you need him to live? Do you need him to make it through your day to day? Or do you want to be with this person? That's a distinction that really helps me to be in a deeper relationship and create more intimacy.
Yeah, I love that bold answer. That's fantastic. And Annemie, the same question for you. What is your spiritual message you want to pass on to everybody?
Well, I will be short and sweet. For me, what I would like the listeners and the people that are watching, what my message is for them is, think about, is it really you that wants to be in this relationship, or are you living your life according to a checklist? So is this what you really want? And I don't mean what your eyes are seeing, but is your heart truly full and happy and basically overflowing with love when you are in this relationship? Because that is something you really need to ask yourself. Are you living your life according to a checklist, what everyone else wants you to be and wants you to be with this person? Or are you truly happy in the relationship that you are? How does this relationship make you feel? And does it lift you up? I think that is how I'm going to conclude.
Oh, fabulous. And I'm just going to add my 5 cents in. I've come to the realization that it's about using your senses to really guide you and help you to understand what you actually, and again, what you said, so need and want from a relationship. And I generally find I'm 100% almost certain that every time I use those senses, I'm heading in the right direction, or I'm going down the right path to ensure that I'm making the right choices for myself, whether it's in a relationship or not. So it's really trusting yourself to know how you want the relationship to go, and believe in yourself, I suppose, too, because there's so many influences out there that you want to be true to yourself and what you need and what you desire and what you want. So, but an amazing conversation with everybody and all my guests today. And again, I just want to thank everybody for the session, Shailesh, Annemie, and to yourself, Sybille. Again, great conversations, great content, and I just want to leave all those all the amazing advice that we've passed on to everybody today. Please stay tuned. We have more sessions and episodes coming up, and keep an eye out for us, Spiritual Journey, and look out for us next time. See you soon.